Denmark has suffered drone incursions overnight that briefly closed two of its airports and affected military installations. Copenhagen says the incursions are a form of hybrid attacks meant to instill fear and create discord. Russia has denied any involvement.
Der må ikke være tvivl om, at alt tyder på, at det er en professionel aktør, når der er tale om så systematisk en operation på så mange lokationer, stort set simultant. Der er tale om det, som jeg vil definere som et hybridangreb med forskellige typer af droner.
The incursion shut down Billund Airport, that's the country's second largest, for an hour and forced the closure of Aalborg Airport, used for commercial and military flights, for 3 hours. Drones were also observed near two other airports, as well as an airbase which houses some of Denmark's F-16 and F-35 fighter jets, an over military facility. All affected locations are on the Jutland Peninsula in western Denmark. Will Denslow is covering the story for CNA Live from Brussels. Will, this comes 2 days after a similar incursion in the Copenhagen airport and several weeks after more recent incursions as well in Estonia, Romania, as well as Poland. Are authorities confirming any links between these different events?
Well, at the moment, investigators are saying that this seems to have been an incident conducted by professional actors, as they put it. But of course, as you rightly mentioned, plenty of similarities to what we saw on Monday that saw Denmark's biggest airport in Copenhagen, as well as in neighbouring Norway, in Oslo, their major airport shut down as well on Monday for several hours. Now, this is sparking huge concerns in Denmark. We've heard from Mette Frederiksen, the country's prime minister. She's in conversations with the NATO military alliance. She says she wants to work with them when it comes to safety and security. That is a route we've seen Estonia take in recent weeks, calling for Article 4 of NATO, essentially calling for discussions on these very topics. So this is certainly an issue that the NATO military alliance taking very seriously indeed. We've seen the mobilization of the so-called Eastern Sentry, essentially more of a deployment of defensive posturing from the military alliance to nations on Europe's eastern flank, bordering the likes of Russia and Belarus, following, as you mentioned, these incursions into places like Poland, Romania, as well as Estonia. Now, as far as the EU is concerned, well, on Friday, they're holding a virtual meeting to discuss what is being described as a drone war. How can the EU boost its own defences from these kinds of hybrid threats? They say this will focus on 2 points. The first, detection of these types of drones. The second, what to do when they're in the air, how to effectively respond. This will be a further topic of conversation when European leaders convene in Copenhagen next week for informal meetings to discuss this very issue and that of Europe's wider defence, security and capabilities.
Well, thanks. Will Denslow there covering this story for CNA from Brussels.